In 360 BCE, the philosopher Plato wrote a text called The Laws, where he proposed a highly specific cap for the population of an ideal city-state, exactly 5,040 free citizens. He didn't pull this out of thin air. Plato chose 5,040 because it divides evenly by 59 different numbers, including 1 through 10. This mathematical harmony ensured a society could be organized into precise administrative grids, keeping democracy stable. Plato's search for a mathematical ideal treated population like a static dial, a setting meant for equilibrium that ignored the reality of constant human change. Demographers call this way of thinking a pre-modern population doctrine. For millennia, leaders and philosophers started with moral certainty, declaring their assumptions as absolute truth, without the need for empirical data. This table summarizes those historical doctrines. Confucius argued governments must maintain strict balance between people and agricultural resources. Meanwhile, Roman leaders like Cicero argued for aggressive growth to supply soldiers and citizens to colonize new lands. By the Middle Ages, thinkers like St. Augustine and Aquinas tried to strike a balance, weighing the moral duty to procreate against the theological ideal of abstinence. Though their goals differed, these pre-modern thinkers shared a common assumption that a population was a static variable that could be frozen or manipulated by religious and state decree. That mindset began to shift in the 17th century when an English haberdasher named John Grount started analyzing London's bills of mortality. By studying weekly death records, Grount uncovered predictable statistical patterns in life and death, effectively inventing the field of social science. Look at this second table showing modern theories. Starting in the late 1700s, we see a move away from philosophical certainty. Thinkers became willing to collect evidence and adjust their hypotheses based on what the numbers actually showed. The first major shock of this data-driven era came from Thomas Malthus. He argued that human populations have the potential to grow in a geometric ratio, 2, 4, 8, 16, while the food supply only grows arithmetically. While Malthus was wrong about our inability to increase food production, his logic highlighted a dynamic reality. Populations are volatile forces that don't naturally stay in balance. If populations aren't controlled by state decree, what does drive their growth? The 19th century economist John Stuart Mill noticed it came down to the individual. Mill observed that a person's standard of living and their fear of losing it is the primary factor that dictates fertility. The French demographer Arsène Dumont refined this into a concept called social capillarity. In a democracy, people want to rise through the social hierarchy. Because large families are expensive and time-consuming, Dumont noted that people often limit their number of children as the price of moving into the narrow upper ranks of society. This chart shows the demographic transition model. As a country modernizes, the orange death rate drops. Because the green birth rate stays high, the population explodes. Eventually, individuals limit their family sizes voluntarily, causing the birth rate to drop and the population to stabilize. Modern demographers have moved past the search for a single perfect number. Instead, they view society through a concept called demographic metabolism. This treats a population not as a fixed group, but as a biological engine powered by constant generational turnover. In 1950, the U.S. had nearly 50 million more people under 20 than over 60. By 2050, that gap will almost close. This shift creates a top-heavy age structure, where the older population increases much more rapidly than the younger one. This metabolism is driven by cohorts, groups of people born at the same time. As one cohort exits and a new one enters, their relative sizes exert massive pressure on everything from housing prices to the national economy. The economist Richard Easterlin proposed that young men evaluate their life choices based on the size of their cohort. If they are part of a massive group like the baby boomers shown here, the competition for jobs is fierce. To maintain their well-being, they make the trade-off to marry later and have fewer children. This feedback loop has led many modern societies into a second demographic transition, characterized by fertility levels that fall below the replacement rate. The direct result is the aging population that you see here. A population functions as a biological metabolism. Our focus must be on building social systems that adapt to shifting generational waves, rather than chasing Plato's dream of a mathematically perfect number.